When you're young, you believe in certain illusions, that your children will always have time for you, that your job will remain secure, that the world owes you something just because you've worked hard. But life doesn't work that way, and by the time you're 60, reality knocks a bit louder. Now, don't get me wrong, love is beautiful, a family that cares, a spouse who stands by you, children who remember your birthday, that's all very nice. But nice doesn't keep the lights on. Nice doesn't pay for medication. Nice doesn't fix a leaky roof. If you want to stand on solid ground past 60, you need more than sentiment, you need pillars, things you've built. Let's talk about them. Most people enter their 60s with the hope that the hard years of labor are finally behind them, and now it's time to relax. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If you haven't mastered your financial world by this point, the relaxation you're hoping for may never come. The absence of financial literacy in older age is not just inconvenient, it's dangerous. It leaves you vulnerable, dependent, and often bitter. The time for blind trust is over. The time for personal understanding is now. Too many people reach this age still expecting that someone else will take care of it. Maybe the government will step in. Maybe your children will help out. Maybe your partner has it covered. But maybe doesn't keep your dignity intact. The more you rely on others to manage your finances, the less control you have over your own life. Financial independence begins with knowledge. And the good news is, it's not too late to start. Start by knowing exactly what comes in and what goes out. Not vaguely, exactly. Track every expense. See where your money leaks. What subscriptions are you paying for that you don't use? What habits are costing you more than you realize? A budget isn't about restriction, it's about awareness. And awareness gives you freedom. Next, eliminate bad debt. Credit card balances with high interest, that's not just a mistake, it's a silent thief. At 60, the goal is not to chase wealth, but to avoid erosion. Every dollar you waste in interest is a dollar you lose in potential stability. Debt is not just a financial burden, it's a psychological one. It clouds your peace. It weighs on your sense of autonomy. Get rid of it as fast as you can. Then move to understanding investments, not gambling, not speculation. Solid long-term strategies, low-cost index funds. The diamonds, perhaps real estate if you're comfortable. The point is to have your money work while you rest. Passive income is not a luxury, it's a necessity when your energy begins to decline. You don't need to be rich, you need to be resilient. And let's not forget the basic principle, protect what you've built. Understand insurance, wills, power of attorney, fraud prevention. People your age are targeted every day because predators know many of you don't pay attention to fine print. You have to outgrow the fantasy that someone else will handle it. No one handles your future like you can. Financial literacy isn't optional anymore, it's your armor. By the time you reach 60, your body starts whispering truths it used to keep quiet. A little stiffness in the morning, a slower recovery after a long walk, sleep that no longer refreshes. These aren't just signs of age. They're signals. Your body is telling you that what you did at 30 won't cut it anymore. But here's the part most people don't want to hear. What you do now will determine whether you decline with grace or decay with regret. The myth is that aging automatically equals deterioration. But that's not true. Decline is not guaranteed. Neglect is. You don't have to run marathons or deadlift your weight, but you do have to daily, deliberately, and with discipline. Walking, stretching, strengthening your muscles. It all matters. Your balance starts to fade as you get older, and a simple fall can change the entire course of your life. Exercise isn't about vanity at this stage. It's about autonomy. It's about continuing to live on your terms. Nutrition matters just as much. You can't eat like you used to. Metabolism slows. Your gut becomes more sensitive. Inflammation creeps in. Sugar that once gave you a quick boost now leaves you sluggish and foggy. Every bite is either building strength or feeding weakness. You don't have to be extreme, but you do have to be intentional. Learn what works for your body. Hydrate, eat clean, be mindful. Stop outsourcing your health to convenience. But it's not just physical. Your mind is part of your health too. Neglect it and you'll feel it as deeply as any muscle strain. The brain needs stimulation, real stimulation, not passive scrolling through social media. Read, solve problems, learn something new, have real conversations. Your memory, focus, and clarity are not fixed. They're trainable. Neuroplasticity doesn't end because you've hit a certain age. It ends when you stop using it. Sleep is another underestimated pillar. At 60, poor sleep isn't just tiring. It becomes dangerous. It affects your mood, your cognition, your immune system, even your longevity. Respect it. Create rhythms. Eliminate distractions. Sleep is your brain's repair cycle. Deny it too often and the damage becomes permanent. And stress has been quietly corroding your health for decades. At 60, it becomes more visible. It shows up in your blood pressure, your digestion, your relationship. Managing it is no longer optional. You must find methods that bring calm. Breathing exercises, time in nature, spiritual grounding, whatever works. Because after 60, your health isn't just about living, it's about the quality of how you live. When the structure of full-time work disappears, many people unknowingly step into a void. They imagine retirement will feel like freedom, endless days with nothing to do. But without a clear sense of purpose, that freedom quickly turns into drift. And drift is dangerous. It invites apathy, depression, and a slow erosion of identity. Humans aren't wired to do nothing. We are goal-oriented by nature. Purpose isn't a luxury, it's psychological oxygen. Routine isn't just about filling time, it's about providing a framework that gives your days meaning. Without it, time loses shape. 1 hour blends into the next, weeks pass and you feel like nothing happened because nothing did. The danger here is not laziness, it's disconnection. You start to feel irrelevant, invisible, like you're no longer needed. That feeling doesn't come from aging, it comes from the absence of direction. This stage of life demands a new aim. It could be small or large, personal or public, but it must exist. Maybe it's mentoring a younger person, volunteering in your community, restoring old furniture, or finally writing that book you've talked about for years. The activity doesn't matter as much as the intent behind it. It must challenge you in some way. It must make you reach. People often underestimate how important it is to have something they are building or becoming. It's not about staying busy. Busy's just noise. Purpose, on the other hand, has weight. It makes you get out of bed even on days when your body hurts or your motivation is low. It gives structure to your energy and focus, to your thoughts. It reminds you that you still have something to offer, because you do. Routine supports purpose. Wake up at the same time, do something that stimulates your mind early, engage with the world, read, reflect, move, set goals, not vague wishes, but clear, actionable goals. Review them, adjust, pursue. This kind of structure isn't restrictive, it's liberating. It anchors you to a sense of momentum. You feel yourself progressing, even in small ways. Without a purpose-driven routine, you risk becoming a passive observer in your own life. You become reactive instead of active. You wait for things to happen instead of making them happen. And after a while, the days start to feel empty. Not because there's nothing to do, but because there's no reason to do it. That's when people start to fade. Not because they've grown old, but because they've stopped growing. One of the most underrated survival skills is adaptability, especially socially. The world doesn't slow down because you've aged. Technology evolves, social norms shift, entire industries transform. And if you don't find a way to keep up, the world begins to move past you. That feeling of being out of touch isn't inevitable. It's a signal to stretch yourself, to engage, to learn, and to contribute, not just consume. Staying socially relevant doesn't mean pretending to be young. It means remaining open to change. It means not getting stuck in the idea that your way is the only way. The temptation to become rigid in your thinking is strong as you get older, but that rigidity becomes isolation. You start to dismiss new ideas, new technologies, even new people. That narrowing of experience slowly shrinks your world until you're only comfortable talking to people your age about things that happened decades ago. That's not wisdom, that's stagnation. You need to stay connected, not just socially, but generationally. Talk to younger people. Listen to their ideas without immediately dismissing them. Teach them what you know, but also be willing to learn from them. This is how knowledge becomes legacy. It's how you stay relevant, not in the trending sense, but in the human sense. Your value doesn't disappear with age, it just needs new channels to be expressed. Contribution is the antidote to loneliness. Most people feel isolated not because there's no one around them, but because they feel like they have nothing to offer. That's never true. Your experiences, your hard-earned lessons, your failures and your wisdom, they're gold to someone who's just starting out. But you have to be willing to share, to give without always expecting applause, to serve because it's right, not because it's rewarded. And you must do this while remaining curious. Learn new tools, try new platforms. You don't have to master everything, but you do have to stay in the game. When you stop learning, you start withdrawing. And withdrawal is where loneliness breeds. It convinces you that you've become invisible. But that invisibility isn't imposed, it's chosen, often unconsciously. This stage of life is not just about reflection, it's about reinvention. And the ability to adapt socially and mentally is what keeps your spirit young, even when your body begins to slow. Those who stay connected, who remain teachable, who give rather than retreat, those are the ones who remain vibrant no matter the date on their birth certificate. One of the hardest truths to swallow after 60 is that no one owes you anything. Not even the people you sacrifice for. It doesn't mean they don't care, and it doesn't mean your efforts went unnoticed. It means life is messy, unpredictable, and often far more demanding than anyone ever anticipates. Your children have their own problems. Your friends may be dealing with silent battles. And the world rarely slows down to check on the elderly. If you enter this stage of life expecting consistent emotional validation, attention, or repayment, you're setting yourself up for bitterness and disappointment. Emotional maturity is learning to let go of that expectation and finding peace anyway. Entitlement is a subtle trap. It creeps in through phrases like, after everything I've done, or they should be there for me now. And maybe they should, but what if they're not? Emotional strength comes from accepting that and moving forward regardless. This doesn't mean closing yourself off or becoming cold. It means developing resilience. It means learning to nurture your own inner world instead of waiting for others to do it for you. You can't control who shows up, but you can control whether or not you fall apart when they don't. As you age, your emotional weight increases if you carry unresolved regrets, unspoken resentments, and expectations rooted in fantasy. Maturity is cleaning that up. It's taking responsibility for your inner life. No more blaming, no more waiting for someone to fix things. That work is yours now. At this stage, you don't need drama, you need clarity. You don't need to win arguments. You need to protect your peace. You also need to forgive, not for others, but for yourself. Life probably didn't turn out exactly the way you thought it would. People have hurt you, you've hurt people. That's part of the story. But holding on to that pain poisons what time you have left. Emotional freedom means giving up the hope that the past could have been different. It means focusing on how you can live well now with what you have. This kind of emotional maturity is powerful. It allows you to be alone without being lonely, to love without needing to possess, to give without needing applause. You become calmer, lighter. You stop waiting for others to complete you. And that, paradoxically, is when you become the most magnetic, the most respected, and the most at peace. Because people sense it. True maturity. And it's rare. 60 and beyond is not a finish line. It's a new frontier. And while love, family, and companionship are precious and irreplaceable, they are not guarantees. The world doesn't slow down for sentiment. It rewards structure, preparation, and self-awareness. That's why these 5 pillars, financial independence, health maintenance, purpose-driven routine, social adaptability, and emotional maturity, matter so much. They are not theories, they are tools. You build them brick by brick, decision by decision, not for applause, not for validation, but because your future deserves something stronger than hope. It deserves a foundation. Because the truth is, there will be days when the phone doesn't ring, when help is delayed, when you sit in silence wondering what comes next. And on those days, it won't be love alone that carries you. It'll be the habits you built, the discipline you kept, and the character you forged when no one was watching. These are your pillars. They don't just pay the bills. They preserve your dignity. They protect your independence. And they allow you to walk into this chapter of life not as someone fading away, but as someone rising into full ownership of their life. You owe that to yourself. Thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up, not just here, but in your own life. Take what's useful, discard what's not, but whatever you do, don't wait. Because the time is now, and you're not done yet. Goodbye for now, and may strength, wisdom, and peace walk beside you every step of the way.